Hello and welcome to today's Small World. Today's Small World is Battlefield 3, made in the glory days of DICE before they destroyed themselves from within. Wait, what's that? Oh, okay. Made in the glory days of DICE before EA purchased them and destroyed them from the outside in. That's why we call them Evil Arts, the devourer of studios. Anyway, released during the golden age of gaming, during the Xbox 360 and the PS3. Released in the prime of those consoles, actually, the first thing you noticed about this title, Battlefield 3, was the sound design. Well, as long as you had a sick pair of turtles, bro, a turtle beach is still a thing. No, not where turtles lay their eggs. I'm sure there's conservation efforts to make sure they are still a thing. A Turtle Beach headset's still a thing. Not sure. But we all had them back in the day. And they had nice level of bass to them. And you really noticed the sound quality of this title through your Turtle Beaches. Where was I? Oh, yes. So, the sound design was impressive through a decent set of headphones. The star of the show here, though, was of course the multiplayer, which I won't be playing today because you're asking for trouble playing a game this old on a PC in multiplayer. Before you know it, a 13-year-old kid from some backwater town in some backwater country is going to have his hands on your Steam balance. So, I won't be playing multiplayer today. However, why was the multiplayer so great? Well, it really comes down to kind of a few reasons, right? Balance, variety, downtime, map design, firefights, lack of matchmaking, graphics, and sound. So, let me bring that all together for you. Why balance? Well, it was incredibly well balanced, not just between the weapons in the first-person shooter elements, but you also had vehicles, tanks, planes, you name it. So there's lots of different things that could go on, lots of little skirmishes and battles that can happen in different places. And I never felt like the tanks were OP or the person on foot was OP or snipers were OP. It was all very well balanced, but there was multiple options available to you, which is why I say balance and variety are why Battlefield 3 multiplayer was so good and so legendary, right? And the second point I'm going to make, although technically it's the third point because I said balance, variety and downtime. Downtime actually ties into map design. You see, the maps were huge, which meant that you actually had a little bit of downtime in between little firefights or skirmishes or, dogfights in the air, whatever it may be. And this downtime kind of allowed the tension to build. And it was a little bit like, am I going to get sniped as I run to this building that's hundreds and hundreds of meters away? Can I jump in a vehicle? Is there a vehicle available? No. What am I going to do? So that, of course, was a fun part of map. So downtime within the maps actually made the game better. And when we talk about map design, they were so well designed. The maps were vast. They were massive, really, compared to most first-person shooters, particularly at the time, right? And they were just so well designed in terms of hills and, landscape and little places to have skirmishes like villages and towns. And then some open I don't want to say fields, but terrain. Some open terrain where you can, drive your tank and have proper tank battles and stuff. It was really very, very cool. So the downtime was great, and it was the map design that allowed for that. The firefights, of course, happened in the little towns and villages, and they were so well designed. Once you were inside those towns and villages, you could hide away from tanks, and when tanks rolled through, you could booby trap them and stuff. It was lots of fun. It was just, as I say, everything came together. The balance, the variety, the downtime, the map design, the firefights, lack of matchmaking. And I don't mean there wasn't matchmaking. What I mean is, because you could set the targets to maximum targets, the maximum targets would normally be like an hour-long match. So you wouldn't have to try and find a different match every 5 minutes and sit in a lobby and listen to a bunch of 12-year-old kids or some guy from Southern America tell some racist joke. You would actually just be playing the game permanently, and that was great and absolutely fine by me. So you didn't have to matchmake a lot. Sure, you could join teams, and you could either work with or against the team, and they're trying to swap out with these little teams within the bigger team. But, you know, you didn't have to be in a lobby just listening to rubbish every 7 minutes like you did with Call of Duty, right? So the lack of matchmaking made Battlefield 3 amazing. And then finally, the graphics and sound, of course, immersive. Just super immersive gameplay and sound design. I mean, it was chef's kiss beautiful, absolutely beautiful as games go. Now, there was a single player, which I guess you don't get on modern Battlefields because the peak is over. And the single player was good, right? I liked it. Had the same variety of gameplay that you got within the multiplayer, but just in single player. I thought it was really nice. I thought it was well designed. I have probably played the Battlefield 3 campaign. I mean, I played it through to make this video, and it's still good to this day. You just don't get campaigns like this. It's absolutely brilliant. And I know, right, this is where I'm going to sound conspiratorial, but this is proven fact. The American military was investing into these games, like offering grants for games of this setting, right? Because they had wars going on and they needed recruits. And as crazy as it sounds, the reason why we got lots of games like this around the same time is because they were receiving grants and funding for them. So out of that sea of, you know, modern shooters in the Middle East, this stood up and above those as, you know, one of the absolute best. And I just feel like, I just miss the days that games like Battlefield 3 were made. And it feels like in the current level of game industry, you don't have the talent, you don't have the studios, there's just no one out there to make a game like this. Like, DICE is really no more. EA is no more. Your Ubisofts are no more. Like, where did all the talent go? It just feels like over the past 12 years, the studios have just it's like a downward spiral of gaming. Gaming's just gone slowly down this spiral of getting worse and worse and worse. It started with like the microtransactions, right? Like the second you could start inserting microtransactions, or maybe even with the DLC before that, right? Because you started with the fact that the game was released, and if it was popular, it would get DLC. And then it got to the point where they were just cutting out sections of the game and releasing them later on as DLC, like a guaranteed second revenue stream. And the second they figured out that you could, these microtransactions, games were designed around the microtransactions and to be addicting rather than being a good game, right? And then you just started getting more terrible storylines, terrible settings. Like, has anyone seen the latest Dragon Age, where it's gone from being this like high fantasy game to this cartoonish Fortnite game? And I just feel like it's kind of the same problems movies have. They try and please everyone. As a result of trying to please everyone, they please absolutely no one. They're just terrible, soulless, lifeless games. And this game had soul, man. It was good. Arguably one of the best first-person shooters ever. And I just miss this period of gaming so much, because it felt like almost every game was an absolute belter, unless it was a movie tie-in or a kid's game. But other than that, they were absolute belters. And all of these studios, all of that talent has just gone. And I don't know where it's gone. Maybe that's how we got Netflix and Uber. Who knows? I really don't know what happened. Did they all go off and start programming random stuff in Silicon Valley startups? I don't know. Where are all the good game developers, man? Slip through our fingers. We had it all. Alright. This was a rant. It was supposed to be about Battlefield 3, but I feel like I nailed Battlefield 3. It's good for the reasons I said. Alright. Peace out.
Ставим на конторки.